Together we'll see who dies and survives, circled around a sacred fire, strumming along with our favorite lyre. Adventure called the quest awaits, your destiny's in the hands of the fates. But never fear, we're all friends here, we'll have your back when danger's near. Come with us through the pages as we unravel a tale for the ages into the Percy-Verse.
Hello and welcome to the Percy-Verse podcast. I'm Alisa.
And I'm Anna. Try to ignore that cold, icy feeling in the air because today we're reading Chapter 9, I Have the Worst Family Reunion Ever. In this chapter, Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson confront Luke and his new minions. We learn that Kronos is slowly coming together like the worst jigsaw puzzle ever, and Percy pulls a Hail Mary to get the gang to safety.
What immediately came into my head was, it's beginning to feel a lot like Kronos.
Oh no! That's the worst Christmas song ever.
Just like the icy chill, and that's immediately
totally. Yeah.
Where my brain went.
Yeah, it's like either Persephone has gone down to the underworld for the season, or the King of the Titans is coming back to life.
Yeah.
One or the other. But since it's the summer in this book, I think it's the latter.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Big bummer.
It is. And we pretty much kind of pick up quite immediately where we left off.
This book might be one of the most sequential books of all of them. Like, we don't jump quite as much. Things happen kind of in order.
Yes, we've had way more chapter ends. Next chapter picks right back up where we left off, which is fun. It's fun to read that, to just be able to be right back in.
You're just flowing. I will say, this chapter end might have been one of the ones I most wanted to just keep reading into the next chapter.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I do think it kind of propels you forward to to give a nod to the end of the chapter.
But we find Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson. We are back on the cruise ship, and we've just heard Luke.
We're sneaking around. Now we're really sneaking around because there's actually people to avoid. Percy's excited.
And we have an incredibly smart plan. Annabeth, with her invisibility cap, is going ahead, basically serving as the lookout, giving the warnings of hide.
So she does try to go, she says she wants to go by herself. And Percy insists that it's too dangerous. They're not going to, don't split the party up, which we talked about last book. So we learned. And I figured you'd point this out, but right up at the top, we've got another nobody.
I was going to say, I have it underlined.
This is exciting. I think it's great that we're counting these.
I need to go back and actually count them because there's so many and it's very fun. And the other thing that they do as well at the top of the chapter is in addition to being smart and traveling as a group and not splitting the party, they also return to the cabin where they spent the night and get other supplies because they're we're probably not spending another evening on this boat.
Yes. I think that we learned things from book one. We did actually get some takeaways from book one.
Yes, we did. Which I just have to say, this immediately made me think of, I don't have in my head when this episode is coming out, but as of recording this episode, part 1 of season 4 of Bridgerton is out in the world.
Yes.
You have not watched it yet. This is a non-spoiler thing. There's a character who packs a bag, and the camera really focuses on said character packing a bag, and the bag is kind of important. And then we lose the bag. The character changes destination after destination, and the bag is gone, and the bag included important things. And I literally ended part 1, loved part 1, 10 out of 10, except for the fact that I was like, where's person's bag? With these very important items in the bag. And so this just, I felt, after being left on a cliffhanger waiting for part 2 to come out, it felt very satisfying.
You're really
to be
focused on they got the bags.
bags.
Though we do have I have kind of a snarky caveat here because Tyson ends up carrying all 3 duffel bags because he can, and it's doable for him. And yeah, Annabeth tells Percy not to worry about it and let him do that. And I'm like, oh, so he's useful now?
Right. Yeah.
Now we're okay with it?
Right.
Now that he can carry your stuff for you?
And my one last fun little note of this beginning section where they are doing their Mission Impossible through the cruise ship.
Sneaking around.
Yes, is so I noted, because one of the sentences starts with, we sneaked through the corridors. And my brain immediately went to, I have never looked up sneaked versus snuck. And that. So a really fun little quick lesson, because I went to webstersdictionary.com and I went sneaked versus snucked. And so sneaked first came around in the 1500s and is the more like formal, proper, like people in Britain / the greater UK.
That's funny. It sounds less formal to me.
I know, would say sneaked, but snuck came about in the US in the 1800s and is considered the less formal, like less proper one. So like if you're trying to write formally, like you would in a book, for example, you would say sneaked. But if you have a character who's from the US or like, you know, raised in the US,
snuck around the corner.
Yeah, and maybe you're going for more of like you're in their mind. That's how I kind of interpret it. So a fun little...
That's
note,
interesting.
A fun little fact.
If it's not Wikipedia, it's Webster's. We're here with the cold hard facts, people, all day.
W's.
Yes.
We're here with the W.
We're here with the
website
W
begins
named
with the W.
cold hard facts.
Yes,
that's why people listen to the pod. At the end of the day.
It is.
It's for the Wikipedia
for
searches
poorly
they could
summarized
do themselves.
Wikipedia articles and facts from Webster's Dictionary.
100%. Cool. Well, that's a fun fact.
Yes. So yeah, we are sneaking through the ship, and Annabeth, being ahead, comes in handy because she hisses at them to hide.
Which, can I note?
Yes.
I underlined the word hiss because it came up in the previous chapter.
It did.
And I thought it was interesting, strange. It probably is just a coincidence, but that we have these like dragon ladies who are hissing, and then we also have Annabeth hissing in the same location. I thought that was kind of weird.
No, I agree. And also I did spend a little too long in my brain trying to hear, what does it sound like if you hiss out the word hide? Because there are no S's in the word hide, so it just felt like an interesting word to hiss out.
To me, hiss connotes like an intense whisper.
Like same, like a sharp, like,
but yeah,
intense,
there's no...
Like you're trying to, not whisper, yell, but like be very, sharp, it's like you want your words to be like an arrow. Like reaching the person is how
but it's just interesting because we do have like hissing monsters on the ship too.
Yes.
So it's kind of an interesting place to have that come about.
Yes, it is. And then we discover our first two other demigods on the ship who are not Luke and not Annabeth nor Percy. And we hear them having a conversation, and Percy can kind of tell that he should know one of the voices. And it's Annabeth who, of course, immediately recognizes. She's like born and raised Camp Half-Blood.
Yep.
I can tell you everyone's voice blindfolded. Like
exactly.
And it was Chris Rodriguez.
It was.
From an unclaimed camper or undetermined camper. Who was at the Hermes cabin that Percy actually knew last summer and realized he had not seen at camp at all this year and hadn't really like clocked it or registered or realized it.
Which is really interesting. I mean, obviously he's not staying at cabin 11 anymore, but I think for a book where Percy's often kind of in his head, shall we say, a little more self-centered than his best self is, it's just sort of like another thing. We're like, and he didn't think to wonder like where Chris was, who he lived with. Because he lived at cabin 11 for some amount of time. Like when he was first there.
Yes. And so this is our first kind of hint to both Annabeth and Percy and the readers that recruiting demigods is an important piece of Kronos' plan.
And possibly leaves us to think our question last time of whether they were talking about who was joining
Yes.
up as being demigods or monsters. This might be another tally on the side of them talking about demigods joining
Yeah,
up.
I agree. And I do think there is, to your point you were just making about like Percy's more kind of in his head, a bit more kind of self-centered in his thinking in this book. It just kind of hit me the little bit of the irony of like Chris joining Kronos because he was feeling forgotten by his Olympian parent is then also forgotten by like a fellow camper.
Totally.
And just that I do think there is this added layer for all of the undetermined, unclaimed campers, like feeling forgotten by your Olympian parent, but then also probably kind of being forgotten by the other campers because you don't have a like home in the way that all the other campers do, and you don't have an identity, a specific identity within the camp the way that everyone else does.
Identity was the word I was just thinking of. And I also think that middle and high school is like a really important time where you're starting to form your identity, and you're forming it relative to others, like in relation to other people.
Yes.
And so if you're in the Hermes cabin and you're someone like Luke, you can have resentment that, you know, there's too many kids and all the, like, there's plenty of things if you know who your Olympian parent is to be resentful about. But I imagine there is a special kind of loneliness, isolation, or like erasure that happens when you're unclaimed. Like you're saying, like, how do you navigate camp? How do you figure out who you are? It's like your place there feels temporary. You're in limbo in a way.
Well, and like literally, like if you remember back, Percy was like on him, like mat on the floor.
Yes.
With the little like you don't even have like a permanent.
Like
this is my bunk. This is my space. You know.
Yep.
So,
which I think like for everyone who, because oftentimes part of what we love about series like this is like the place that's like a home away from home, that's both the physical location that represents that for our characters, but it's also like the concept of that represents that for us, the reader, as the book being the home away from home, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about being someone like Chris in camp. Your perspective on Camp Half-Blood would be so different from someone like Annabeth or Percy, who finds this like respite and this home and this community. And like, if you see it as a place, imagine like a lot of these kids also have some of the same issues, monsters or parent issues or other issues, right? And then they have a parent who they know has to exist, who's refusing actively to claim them. Yeah. And then they're not feeling a sense of belonging at camp. Like this placelessness that happens there, I think it's just interesting because the perspective we get is from all characters who just like love Camp Half-Blood. Yeah. And I think we come to love Camp Half-Blood too through them. Yeah. But if you imagine that other trail where you're never claimed, I can understand why you wouldn't have the same affection for camp. And it would be way more tempting to go with Kronos and with Luke.
Absolutely. And this is going to be a tangent on a tangent, but all of this is making me connect for the first time this to the show This Is Us, which you, Anna, are now watching.
I am
big
now
fan
watching.
Of.
Yes.
And it is, I'm going to try to explain the connection without spoiling too much because it's getting to a piece of the storyline that you haven't, but the base information you already know. So one of the characters, Randall, is adopted, and he's adopted as a black baby into a white family. Yeah. And there's a point in one of the seasons where he's really exploring, kind of for the first time on a deep emotional level, what that was like for him to be the one black child in a white family, to have been adopted, all of that. And through that, we kind of learn about what that's like for other like kids who've been adopted who are now adults and are reckoning with that. And there's a term that I'm forgetting, and I wish it would come back to me, but there's a term for what kids who are adopted there's a term for like the kind of mind palace place that you can go to where you imagine like who your biological parents are, and maybe like what life with them would be like. There's a specific term for it. I'm so sorry I'm blanking on it right now.
I'm not remembering it either, but I know what you're talking about. Yes.
But it made me think in a lot of those instances, like those kids really don't know who their parents are, if they're their biological parents, if their biological parents are alive or not, or anything like that. But in this instance, like if you are a kid like Chris or any other unclaimed campers, like to the point, it was your point that you just made, Anna, about like, you know, one of your parents is around, is very much
and is intentionally not claiming you.
Yes, deity and intention. Yeah. And you could imagine, you could be like, oh, who do I think my parent might be, and try to be like, do I feel like I'm maybe
like
an Aphrodite
last book
kid,
Percy goes and he tries archery and he's not very good at it, so he's like, it's probably not Apollo, and he tries, you know, and he's like, I'm good at canoeing, but that's not anything, and we're like, water, dude. But you know, you're going through and you're like, via your talents and strengths, you're trying to like interpret. It's a similar idea of like grasping at like, what would that look like? Who could I be similar to? Right.
And then just with this like new added layer of, not only do you know for certain that godly parent is alive, but also you are at the one place that means that they are going to know that you are alive and exist and are there, and you're still not even getting bare minimum claim to like identified as like, you are my child, and just like the levels, the layers of like pain and hurt that would bring is like so understandable, like so valid, and I do feel a lot of compassion for all of these campers who are in this place, and I understand why Kronos is appealing to them fully and completely. It makes so much sense.
Absolutely. I agree. And I actually think having Luke as sort of the head, you know, Camp Half-Blood defector is probably extra impactful because he was head of Hermes' cabin.
Yep.
And so he has witnessed and experienced all of these types of, you know, stories of kids who are unclaimed firsthand. Yep. And they probably know him and look up to him like Percy did. Yes. And so I think that's all very, very effective in him being the spokesperson for Kronos' cause, specifically to demigods who were unclaimed in Cabin 11 in particular.
Yes. Yeah, he doesn't even have to introduce himself. They already know him.
Yeah.
They already know him. He knows what they've been through. They know that he knows. Like, it is Kronos' like ideal kind of setup in that sense. Absolutely. For recruiting campers.
He's very effective.
That he got Luke. So.
And back to kind of what sparked this is Chris, and I think the other thing about this chapter in particular is we actually get at least two moments where we're getting some like foreshadowing. Yes. And Chris in particular, combined with Clarice being the lead in, like, for us, like the actual main character of this book, as we've discussed. I just think it's interesting that he's the first demigod that we're introduced to as having joined Kronos, and meaningful that then like Clarice is heading the quest in this book, because when we get to Labyrinth, like this is going to become very relevant between their relationship. And so I think it's smart to introduce him so early and kind of like put his name in our heads as like, this is one of the demigods to look out for, you know, and like subconsciously link that to the book that's like really focused on Clarice.
Yeah. That's such a great point. Oh, I was just imagining like, just again, like this book, but it's Clarice's POV, and then maybe we're getting cuts to Chris, and we're like, why are we cutting to Chris? How does demigod matter? Just for then 2 books later to be like, oh my god,
it was so important. Totally.
But back to Annabeth and Percy in a supply closet, and Tyson. Yes, the 3 of them are in the supply closet, having a little bit of like their earth has been rattled moment. That there are other demigods on this ship.
Why are there demigods here? But like so we just did a whole tangent based on all of our knowledge of what's going on and going to happen, right? Our characters are like, what? There's other demigods on here? They seem to be like on Luke and Kronos' side? Yeah, this is the CNN banner for sure.
Fully just going on a loop.
Scrolling,
Yeah. And it gets even bigger. The CNN banner gets bigger, gets more. You know when they got like five
that like
going
announcement
at the
comes
same time?
like da 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 da, like breaking news.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Breaking
that comes
news.
forward. Yeah.
Not only did you hear two strolling down a hall talking, you are then going to see looking down through the promenade, this like mall area, a young guy, unidentified young guy in Greek armor, hacking on a straw dummy, wearing an orange Camp Half-Blood t-shirt, kind of encircled by various monsters who are kind of cheering this kid on.
I wrote like, oof. Like it's like a gut punch.
Yeah.
And before we got on today, we were talking about how like this is quite a dark book. I think we've said that before too. Like, particularly coming off of The Lightning Thief, it really changes tone. And this is quite dark. This is a gut punch kind of moment.
Yes, because not only have they just heard that a camper they recognize is aboard the ship and not entranced, but of full sound body and mind.
Sound body and mind, yeah.
Yeah. I'm with it.
Able to testify.
But then they see another kid essentially training to kill other kids.
Yes.
Because that's what this means. And I was thinking, it made me have a moment reading the chapter. I was thinking a lot about like the intentionality of this kid is not just in armor fighting a straw dummy to practice fighting another human, but that the placing of the Camp Half-Blood t-shirt on the dummy is so whoever, whether it's that kid who set it up or Luke or whoever set that up, for that like dehumanization, that othering, that you are different from them, this symbolizes
enemy
like
creation.
Exactly. And that's really what's happening here in this moment.
There's a particular detail that I noted when they're all looking at this, and then Annabeth steps away from the window, and it says that her face is ashen. And I just, we had Tantalus's face being shattered. Like, I just kind of thought there's a lot of really unique and specific descriptions of faces in this book that have really stood out to me on this reading.
Yeah, I agree. Because it's different than saying the blood drained from Annabeth's face.
Right.
Or, you know, like other descriptions that are kind of a similar, you're so shocked, you're feeling so many things. But ashen really, I think,
it's
conveys...
like something that's ashen has been scorched. Like, I think that this... the end of last chapter into the beginning of this chapter, it totally justifies why Annabeth comes in so mad at Luke in a little bit when they start talking. Because it's funny, because we just did an episode talking about how Annabeth and Hermes don't give up on Luke.
Yeah, yeah.
And we know that because we've gone, you know, all of us who've read the books before. But in this particular chapter, that's not the vibes.
No. Well, because this is the chapter where Annabeth is having to, like, up to this point, all Annabeth knows is Luke definitively betrayed Percy and tried to kill Percy. And then fled camp. So Annabeth is absolutely would be feeling the betrayal. It's in this chapter where by seeing the demigods, she, I think all of a sudden is now really having to confront, like, Luke's betrayal of Camp Half-Blood as, like, an institution and a home and a place.
And we talked about how Annabeth loves institutions and obviously loves Camp Half-Blood, but she loves sort of institutions and structures and systems, and she is, you know, bought into them for sure. Yeah.
But then also with the confirmation of Luke being the one to have poisoned Talia's tree, there's then that like that deep personal betrayal upon confirmation that Annabeth experiences. And so I think here I feel like she kind of goes through at various points in these books like the stages of grief when it comes to Luke, and as we know, grief is not linear, and here she's in anger. She's gonna reach bargaining in quite a few places. But I think here she is at anger. Like,
absolutely.
First
and
foremost.
this is like the sting of betrayal. This is a really hard chapter for Annabeth. This is a really hard chapter for Annabeth, I think, of everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that initial betrayal, like that anger reaction, makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But we're about to get there because she's stepping away from the window. Her face is ashen, and Percy's like, "We got to find Luke, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's find him because that's their mission." Which is always interesting when you have your protagonist intentionally trying to find the bad guy, not like trying to run away. And Tyson reveals a very unique and interesting and useful and startling ability.
New ability unlocked. It's like
ability unlocked.
It's like he always had it, and obviously he knows that he has
right.
it. It's like you reach that point in a video game where it's like, oh, now
you
learn. You can do this thing.
XP, and now you learn that you can do this thing. Yeah. So he says that there's voices inside, and Percy's like, you can hear that far. So first you're just like, okay, Tyson has really good hearing, right? That's a cool skill in and of itself.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But then he closes his eyes and his voice changes and becomes a husky approximation of Luke's. And he says, and I'll just read this one because I think we'll talk probably more about the implications of this. The prophecy ourselves, it's kind of like a dash at the beginning. It's just the end of the sentence. The fools won't know which way to turn. So he's like in evil villain planning mode. And this is like, we didn't even get a chance to react to this, and Tyson's voice changes again and says in a different voice, the one they'd heard talking to Luke outside the cafeteria, who he'd called Agrius, you really think the old horseman is gone for good. And then I think probably the creepiest part is that Tyson laughs Luke's laugh.
Yeah.
I think that would be really alarming. He's talking about, we know he's talking about Chiron if we're talking about the horseman. So that they can't trust him, not with the skeletons in his closet. So we're alluding to something about Chiron that Percy and our friends don't know. And the poisoning of the tree was the final straw. And that's also the final straw for Annabeth to take in Tyson's ability. And she's like, stop. How do you do that? It's creepy. And he's just like, I'm just listening. Like, Tyson's not really like thinking this is very strange.
Yeah. Well, and what's a few things. One, this is like an incredible ability, and I had a lot of questions about like, can he only imitate other people's voices when he's hearing them, or I can't remember, like, can he, now that he's heard Luke, like whip out a Luke impression, you know, like on the fly?
Yeah.
So like, if so, my man needs to get on SNL. And he needs to start doing sketch comedy, and he needs to start doing impressions professionally because he'd be so good at them.
Yes, 100%.
But actually, the thing that stood out to me was Annabeth asking, how do you do that? But my memory of when we learned the story of her encounter with the Cyclops with Talia and Luke is that she does reference their ability to mimic voices.
I think you're right that she does.
So, like, her surprise surprised me.
I don't know if she's surprised. I think Percy's surprised. She shivers and says, stop that. How do you do that? It's creepy. How do you do that? I doubt she learned how they do that back when she had that experience.
Sure.
So I think that's still a valid, like, now she has the chance to ask that question, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think if it is just out of, like, that, like, fear and curiosity, I guess the curiosity surprised me.
Sure.
Because I'm like, she's encountered this, and if she's predominantly just creeped out, it was just something that surprised me.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Is all.
Because I do think that she describes that happening when...
Yeah, because it's how they get separated, and there's confusion, and
they cause them to go in different places.
Yeah.
Using each other's voices. Yeah. You know... Also, sometimes when you're triggered, you say weird stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh no, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And then, but Tyson's just doing his thing. Like, he doesn't think it's weird.
He is. And then, yeah, he's not at all. I also want to know, like, when Tyson discovered he could do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
Again, back to that question of,
or
like,
just
Cyclops
always.
development.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
of, like, when does this come
do you
along?
start?
And is it like when you start talking, you also start, you know, doing that as a part of, like, verbal development, or like, I don't know.
I would guess.
We got to get a Cyclops expert in here.
We really do.
We got to interview Cyclops development. But the part that really cracked me up about this, because this is like, this chapter starts out like serious and dark, and we're learning stuff that's scary. And then Tyson like whips out this ability out of nowhere that's like a little very helpful, but also a little unnerving,
disconcerting. Yeah.
And when Percy tells Tyson to keep going, the part that just cracked me up was none of them considering the fact that, like, by Tyson talking out loud, that like they could get picked up on. Absolutely. Like that like the Uno reverse card could happen.
Like they're like, we're far enough away that we can't hear them, but Tyson can. So that should mean they can't hear Tyson.
Despite being on a cruise ship full of monsters.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, he should have been like, keep going, but whisper.
Right. Because then when Tyson picks it back up, it's someone telling Luke to be quiet, and then Luke whispering, "Are you sure?" And then someone responding, "Yes," right outside. And they're like, "Oh no, they're talking about us."
Yeah. Which also makes you think they're not quite as far away as they thought they were. Like I said, it implies when he says you can hear that far. Yeah. Also, like, weird to be in the POV of, like, Luke and Agrius in this particular situation where, like, you're talking and then, like, you hear a weird echo. Like, it's like someone didn't unmute their Zoom, you know, and then you just, like, hear a weird echo in the background, but, like, live in person.
Oh my God,
that must have been a very strange experience.
I'm also sad that that's not, like, an appropriate, like, comparison for what
them's the times.
I know, but it's oh man, that is what that would sound like. And Percy says run, but it's too late, and the doors burst open, and there is Luke flanked by, as of right now, identified as 2 hairy giants. We will soon get to know them. And Luke gives them his famous crooked smile and it's like, well, hey, my favorite cousins, let's have a chat.
And I think that's interesting and worth noting, because we just had this whole big conversation a few chapters ago with Hermes about family, and at least as of now, Luke is still referring to them as family, and even if he's being a little facetious, and he's still trying to convince them to join him. So there's this, it's interesting to see where we're at with how he's thinking about Annabeth and Percy as well.
Yes, no, that is interesting.
And initially, he's not even acknowledging Tyson. He will later, but he just acknowledges Annabeth and Percy.
And to what we were discussing last chapter about, like, Kronos kind of doing a bit of, like, stock dialogue in his dream and not really, like, tailoring it to Percy. Luke tailors this conversation
wrote that down.
To Percy.
Luke did what we said Kronos should have done last chapter. Yes. He is
Luke
all
went
over
herd on it. Yep. Got it.
Yep.
I've taken my notes.
So on it. But first, we have to learn about the room that they're in, the stateroom, which Percy describes as both beautiful and horrible.
Yeah.
And he explains that the beautiful part are huge windows, green sea and blue skies stretching all the way to the horizon. We've got a Persian rug and sofas, a canopied bed, a mahogany dining table. It's like luxurious vibes. And we also have food, which for demigods is like exciting and important. We've got, food, pizza box. We've got pizza boxes, bottles of soda, a stack of roast beef sandwiches on a silver platter. Like, this is nice. And then we get to the horrible part, and the horrible part is basically Kronos. Yeah. The horrible part is a velvet dais on the back of the room, and we've got a 10-foot-long golden casket. And this is our first look at the sarcophagus. So this is very important, because we're going to return to this, and it's going to become a very
prominent fixture.
Yes. It's a big part of his plan. So it's engraved, and this goes back to like the Andromeda statue at the beginning on the boat, where we have engravings of ancient Greek scenes with cities in flames and heroes dying grisly deaths. Yeah. And even though there's lots of sunlight and it's the summer, the casket is making the whole room feel cold, which harkens back to Percy's dreams of Kronos and always having that cold feeling.
Yeah. And the point that I wanted to make now, when we've gotten this like big luxurious description, I circled in this chapter, because we were discussing last chapter, like, where did the cruise ship come from?
Yes.
Like, what are its origins? I made a note that on in my book, page 130, Luke references that they have powerful friends and sponsors rich enough, and it then fully jogged my memory to something that I believe is something you haven't read yet, so I'm not going to go into it. But then that made me think that it's actually more likely that this was a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Built
that
for
made me think
Kronos.
That too. Yeah.
And so Andromeda has been there from the start, and they probably just like recruited mortals to be in a trance and kind of serve as their like cover. But then that does kind of make me wonder, can the mortals see like terrified Andromeda, and is everyone just like, well, that's kind of a weird cruise ship, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that the mist is doing something to it to make it look different.
Yeah.
And it could also be that they put them in a trance before they see the ship.
Oh, no, I mean like the mortals who could see the ship, not the mortals on the ship, because they're in a trance. I'm talking about like
ship?
if you're just like hanging out, because you know they're by the Long Island Sound. So I'm like, if you're somewhere where you could see it, you're just like, well, that's weird. That's weird.
Yeah.
Front of a cruise ship.
Maybe there are a lot of mortals being like, that's weird, and then going on with their day.
Right, and then being like, well, Royal Caribbean is
people are
doing
weird.
something different now, I guess.
Right, exactly. Yeah, this must be a Greek-themed cruise or something.
Yeah. But yes, that's where, and everything being very opulent, I think comes from the rich sponsors.
Yes,
that
I think so too.
They have.
Yes.
And yeah, Luke is like very proud of how nice this space is, and he makes sure to point it out. And we also get a quick like refresher that Luke has had a bit of a like wardrobe like aesthetic change.
Luke had a makeover.
Luke went to the evil Queer Eye.
Yeah. I was just like, thinking that alternate universe evil. Yeah.
Yes. And he is sporting, rather than his normal Bermuda shorts and t-shirts, he's wearing a button-down shirt, khaki pants, leather loafers, and his sandy hair, which had once been so unruly, is now clipped very short, with Percy thinking that he looks like an evil male model showing off what the fashionable college-age villain was wearing to Harvard this year.
Yeah.
So we get some shots fired at Harvard, which
we do. We do get some shots fired. I also, it's sort of connoted for me too, like when people, join the military, they often also cut their hair shorter. And so it also, even though that's not how it's described here, to me it kind of referenced a little bit that he's also in a bit of a military position now.
Yeah.
Like he is, they're all warriors, but this is more of a organized army that's hierarchical and controlling. And I think that even in like other controlling scenarios like cults or things like that, dictating how you can wear your hair is like a common practice. So I feel like that's like an undertone here, even if it's not what Percy's noting.
Yes. No, I agree. And it kind of reminded me of like we made these comparisons between Camp Half-Blood and Camp Jupiter, and Camp Jupiter is the more buttoned up, crisp,
militaristic,
tight, haircut for everything to be very hierarchical in that way. And so it feels like it's almost a bit of getting Luke to shed some of his like Greek Camp Half-Blood identity by being like, we're going to straighten up like the unruly,
straighten up and fly right.
Except fly evil
and fly terribly. Another last thing I want to say for this section here is when he says a little nicer than Cabin 11, to the opulence. The other thing that I was really taking in is we've already talked a little bit about the conditions in Cabin 11, so you can see how like that's part of the resentment, right? But Luke also comes from a mom who like had a lot of intense, essentially the analog to like having intense mental health issues in our reality, right? And very messy, dirty, not like good to live in house.
Yeah.
And so it just, as part of his motivation and as part of how he might see his circumstances now,
Yeah.
it's like he went from that with his mom to Cabin 11, which was chaotic and messy and overstuffed as well.
And like even the description of like, because I'm thinking back to in book 1 where we got the descriptions of all the facades, like even the facade of Cabin 11 was kind of described as like dingy, like
their chariot was too. Yes.
Yeah, like everything's kind of like no one's really refurbished it in the last like 500 years.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else is, you know, the Aries one is like there's a lot going on, but everyone else has felt more like it was kept up with.
Yes.
Whereas the Hermes one is not so much.
There's literally like gold glinting ones, and the only other one is maybe Aries, but they're like intentionally being kind of like grotesque in a way. Like that's the vibe.
It's
that's
a choice.
The aesthetic. Yeah, it's a choice. So this idea that Luke might be like, why can't I have nice things, or I deserve to have nice things, and look, I now am where I deserve to be. Like it just feels like another layer that's meaningful. And I think when he is pointing that out to Percy, it's like Percy has lived in Cabin 11, so he's experienced it. But I think for Luke, it runs even deeper.
I agree with that. And it also made me think of like Luke's pride is an interesting thing that I think is very important to him and ties back to the quest. And he didn't feel proud of the quest, even though like he technically succeeded. It wasn't like important. It wasn't like deserving of pride. And I think we're seeing here like Luke feeling like he has gotten like status and stature that like gives him a feeling of pride, because of the like see how respected I am. I have these nice things. I'm in this nice place, like,
and I'm in charge.
I'm telling everyone else what to do. So yeah,
for sure. And we get a further description of him, that he still has a scar under his eye. We get to know that Backbiter's still with him. And as a reminder, this is a very important weapon because it is half steel and half celestial bronze. So it can kill both mortals and monsters. And that's kind of like one of our big clues in The Lightning Thief at the end, when Percy is seeing Luke with this weapon, and like half-bloods aren't supposed to want to kill mortals. Why would you have something like that? So it definitely, I think, is an emblem of Luke's transition to Kronos' side and change in his morals, you know, that happens along the journey. And then he tells them to sit. And interestingly, we have some magic furniture, which I just wanted to note because I feel like it's just a random thing that we don't get a lot of in this series, I feel like. But he waves his hand and 3 dining chairs scoot themselves to the center of the room. Now, the other thing I wanted to suggest is you were saying last time, could there be spirits on the ship?
Yes.
And then I was thinking of in Heroes of Olympus, I'm forgetting their names, but the spirits that can take over your body.
Yeah.
And take over Leo's, and then he fires at King Jupiter kind of thing. So anyway, I was just wondering, because I'm like, I don't think Luke has like any kind of magic power over objects outside of this. I was like, are there maybe some kind of spirity type servants or wind servants or something that are going on here? And like, maybe those are the voices that Percy heard last night. What do you think?
I think, so I am of 2 minds. I am of one mind, which is that this is proof that there are some spirits, you know, and maybe it was that like Kronos, because Kronos didn't get the grain spirits. I think it's that like Gaia got the the grain spirits, but maybe Kronos successfully recruited some other, maybe a couple of other spirits here and there. But the other part of my brain is like, for a hot second I was like in a 90s Disney animated movie. With
Beauty and the Beast?
Like, yes, with that happening. And I think it really tickled me because, like, you know, the show adaptation is coming out on Disney Plus, and like it's the books are published through a publishing arm of Disney, and so it's just
giving this like Disney vibe. Maybe just the ship is magical, like the furniture on the ship is magical. Yeah.
And like Disney has cruises, so it just there's like
that's
all
true.
these funny connections. Like there's just a moment
really
of Disney,
funny.
and then we move
it's just
on.
a Disney moment. Okay, I'm fine with that too. It's just a sprinkle of Disney magic.
Maybe we make a case for Luke as a Disney princess who like turns to the dark side and then comes back. If this is, you know,
redemption.
Like he's like a Disney princess anti-hero,
right?
But like to the extreme, you know, where he goes full villain.
Well,
and then comes back. So
track if he has any other Disney-esque
because eyes become like important, like that
they
switching of his eyes. So
they
Luke
do. They
in the
do.
eye thing that we've been tracking through this whole series.
Yep.
Anyways,
Yep. Okay, we'll pay attention to see if there's any other Disney
Luke
princess
is also
moments
a Disney princess
that Luke has. Luke and Sally, who'd have thunk it? But yeah, that was just such a funny thing. But nobody sits. Percy and Annabeth and Tyson are not like, yeah, sure, we'll listen to you. No. That is not the vibes. And then we're going to learn a little bit about his new compatriots.
Yes, we are. So Luke has two very large friends with him that look like twins, but they aren't human. They're roughly about 8 feet tall. And they're wearing only blue jeans. They're kind of hulking it a little bit because they've got pants and no top. So they're wearing blue jeans, but
opposite of Grover.
Yes, true, inverse Grover. Mm-hmm. Because their chests are shag carpeted with thick brown fur, which is kind of how, per inverse Grover, it's kind of how Percy describes Grover's legs, is shaggy carpet.
Yeah.
And they have claws for fingernails, feet like paws, their noses are snout-like, and their teeth are all very pointy.
I have to say, I have to pause real quick.
Yeah.
I love bears.
Yeah.
I have a really strong affinity for bears. Like, I feel like I could be a bear. Right. So, just this description, it makes me want to be friends with them.
I know.
They sound really adorable, so it's kind of sad. Like, we're headed into learning how they're, like, on the villain side and everything. But just this description, I'm like, bears in blue jeans? Like the Berenstein Bears, you know? Like, it's just cutie. So I'm just, for a moment, I just want to live in the world where, like, I want bear friends.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear about their sad backstory and how they're on Luke's side.
Yeah, and how, so I'm going to absolutely butcher these names. Their names are Agrius and Aureus.
That's how I would say them.
Or Aureus. That's what we're going with.
Yes, I would say Agrius and Aureus as well.
I look up some things before we start recording. How to pronounce. Have yet to do.
Unless you want to say
Oreos. I never remember.
Can we just call him Oreos? Agrius and Oreos?
Agrius and Oreos. All right, we'll do it. So before we get into their quick backstory, I do think it's interesting that Percy has this moment where he is thinking about all the times that he's imagined himself since last summer boldly standing up to Luke and challenging him to a duel and being heroic, and now his hands are shaking and he can't really speak or anything. He's just petrified.
Really love that moment because it feels so true. Like, it feels so accurate to, like, you imagine yourself confronting the person who's wronged you and how you're going to be so eloquent or you're going to be so strong, and then like in real moments like this, especially, like, we've talked about their age difference and like he's on Luke's turf and thrown off on this like ship, and it's a scary situation to be in. Yeah, and then add to that, the last time Percy saw him, he almost successfully killed, Luke almost successfully killed him. So there's a whole nother... happened.
Yeah. So Agrius and... We're going with Aureus? Oreos. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Agrius and Oreos.
Just fun, just for me.
Story. I said Gaia, you can have Oreos. So their story is tragic.
Yes.
Unlike
everyone else's Greek
right, unlike
story,
every other Greek myth, this one, breaking news, is tragic. Mm-hmm. So, a quick summary of it is that Agrius and Oreo's mother was ordered by Aphrodite to fall in love. The mother refused, ran to Artemis for help, and Artemis was like, I got you. Become one of my maiden huntresses. And Aphrodite was like...
Ding, ding, ding. Foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Yes. But Aphrodite wasn't having it, and she was like, loophole. I'm trying to make this funny because it's not funny.
It's not funny. It's fine.
Really not funny. Aphrodite found a loophole and bewitched this young woman to fall in love with a bear. And when Artemis found out, she abandoned the girl in disgust. And Luke notes, like, typical of the gods, wouldn't you say? Basically, they fight with one another, and humans are caught in the middle. And I do just want to say, sure, yes, humans are caught in the middle, but especially between last chapter and this chapter, I've really been sitting with, like, how much violence against women happens in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
It's a horrifying amount. It's really shocking. Like, because it kind of feels like it's every myth. Yeah. And it's every story.
Yeah, it's not just humans that get caught in the middle.
No, it's particularly...
Often it's women. Yes.
And experiencing, like, kind of anything that could be covered by the Violence Against Women Act. It feels like anything from there kind of happens to women in these myths.
Absolutely.
And it's just really depressing. And it made me want to, like, understand that history more and kind of... I would be really curious on especially, like... scholars today, like classic scholars looking back, kind of to know, like, what is the, like, there is absolutely an impact because those myths, like, oh, stories to learn from, and the violence against women is never the problem. Like,
no,
it's never...
it's just normalized as, and the thing is, I think it's sort of a chicken and egg question. It's like, are myths reflecting... Myths often reflect reality, right? Mm-hmm. So are these myths just reflecting the rampant violence against women in society that, you know, at that time, throughout, not all time, but lots of time, right? Yeah. Like, this is a thing, this is a pattern that continues to this day that is very common.
Like, since formalized patriarchal societies...
existed. Essentially.
Yeah.
So how much is this... reflecting society and how much is it influencing society? It just feels like there's a bit of a chicken and an egg thing there that's happening.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think especially because, like, you know, Greek mythology is one of those mythologies that is commonly known, like, outside of Greece, right? Yes. Like, culturally, societally.
Yes.
And so the way that we globally retell those stories, like, communicate something very... Yes, it matters.
Absolutely. Well, and, like, one of the musicals I'm working on has at its center the common experience of women pitted against other women, too. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's not just that it's, like, men being violent against women or male gods being violent against human women or goddesses at times. Yeah. A key part of this story is, like, Artemis and Aphrodite in a rivalry, and Artemis, well, first of all, Aphrodite doing something to a human woman, and then Artemis rejecting her. Yeah. Like, essentially victim blaming. Yes. And I think that just also speaks to such a truth, like, of one of the impacts of patriarchy is the way that then women are both pitted against each other, but also, like, impose and enforce patriarchy themselves.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's depressing how many of these, whether it's a god or a goddess, how many of these stories involve human women being, like, punished sexually in some way, shape, or form, and that being their punishment, and and then experiencing that victim blaming, that rejection, that othering, that you are now outside,
and
or even
young
Medusa's
women,
story, you are now a literal monster, or in this one, you are giving birth to a monster,
proximity to monstrousness.
The Minotaur, like it's the same thing, like with his, it's just like it happens. Constantly, and it's just it's depressing. It's really, really depressing.
I agree. And here, she's specifically described as a young woman, but then at the end it says the girls' twin sons here, Agrius and Aureus, and I just think it's like that, like it's often young women too. And I again, that's just an analog for our society today as well, like,
and a qualification for being a part of joining Artemis is maiden, huntress. Maiden is very specific in age, in youth.
Yes.
Like,
well, and in sexual activity, which is what, you were just referring to. So, absolutely. I think, I, as a person who loves bears and the idea of bear humans just makes me happy in that sense. Like, calling one of them Oreos, I just think is adorable, but definitely not trying to make light of like the backstory or the intensity of like how they came about to exist, in the first place, and absolutely understanding, like we've talked about, the motivation for demigods from Camp Half-Bloods, why they might want to join Luke and Kronos. We're not going to be looking too kindly on the gods here if this is our origin story.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And especially one where, like, we know the sons' names, but we don't know this girl's name.
Yeah, she's also just, like, nameless in this story.
Yeah.
Okay, I looked it up because I was like, I need to know her name. It's like, say her name. So, her name was, I'm going to say Polyphont, or Polyphontis. Okay. And she was the daughter of Hipponus, but also a granddaughter of Ares. So that is really interesting. Yeah. And apparently, eventually, due to the cannibalistic nature of her sons, she and her children were ultimately transformed into birds by Hermes and Ares.
Interesting.
Polyphont was turned into a small owl. Agrius became, which is interesting. It makes me think of Athena. Yeah. Agrius became a vulture, and Aureus became an eagle owl.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
So, we're not necessarily seeing their full story through these books, but Polyphont or Polyphontus.
Thank you for looking that up.
Yep.
So returning to this scene in the book, we have this like interaction between Agrius and we'll keep on calling him Oreos. Where basically we get the sense that Agrius is the like in charge, serious, responsible brother, and Oreos is
having a good time.
Yeah. Well, and then having a bad time.
Sure. So you were just referencing Disney, and I have to say, this section reminded me so much of the hyenas in The Lion King.
Oh, you're so right.
Because you have like two hyenas who are like talking more seriously, and then Ed, I think, is the third one who's just like just can't stop laughing. You know, I think there's certainly an analysis here between both of those examples of the hyena and Oreos here. That's like, this is not okay kind of analysis of how we're depicting him. But that was the comparison that came to mind when I was reading this section.
Yes, I think that is a very apt comparison. Because then it goes from, you think you're kind of getting a sense of like, oh, these two brothers have a dynamic, and then it takes a really dark turn really quickly. Very dark. Because Agrius tells his brother to shut up and to go punish himself, which he literally immediately does. Yes. So there's like, you've just had this like dark, terrible story to like what happened to their mother, how they came into being in this world.
The implication that they're going to eat half-bloods comes right after that.
Mm-hmm. And then you witness their very, like, dark dynamic.
Yes.
That is also
Which,
terrible.
like, can we say intergenerational trauma? We've said that on the pod before. Let's say big intergenerational trauma happening here.
Yes. So, like, Oreos is literally, like, physically harming himself
he's
as
banging
punishment.
His forehead on the dining table.
Which is, and that's I don't know how long that's happening in the background for.
Yeah.
I hope it's not a long time.
I hope so too.
As we transition into Luke, Annabeth, and Percy
Talking,
kind of like, getting into their conversation.
Well, and Luke is just sort of like, yeah, that's normal. He's just like moving on and just like, well, Percy, like he's just talking while this like terrible thing is happening in the background. That's where I'm just like, I don't know. I don't like bears getting hurt and hurting themselves.
Yeah.
Makes me sad. I'm like, a big Winnie the Pooh fan, and
you need to go watch Brother Bear after this, and
so I can cry. Yeah, cool.
So you can cry, thanks. But get some like
bear love. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Okay, maybe I'll do that.
But Percy gets right into it by accusing Luke of having poisoned Talia's tree, which Luke admits to right away, which makes Annabeth sound so angry that Percy's like, she's gonna explode. She's gonna
just spontaneously combust right here on the spot. Yep.
Yes. And Annabeth brings up this, like, uses the phrase, like the particular wording of accusing Luke of dishonoring Talia by doing so. And that makes Luke incredibly mad because he's like, I didn't dishonor her. The gods.
They are all just her. Like activating. It's like pop rocks. Yeah. Like they're all just activating each other in this like triangle back and forth. Yes. It is just really the combustion pieces here, right?
Oh
like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And Luke makes the claim that if Talia were alive, she would be on his side, which is another, like, that's kind of a, like, that's the end goal. That's the chess move that they're making in this book that you're not aware of yet.
Just say the plan out loud.
Yep. And they have this, like, verbal sparring match, Luke and Annabeth, where they're both kind of accusing each other, throwing jabs. Luke kind of goes on his little spiel about how rotten the West is, and this is when he starts to kind of, and he's like pitching that, like, they could make a better world. It's like his Darth Vader, like, join me together and we will rule the galaxy moment. And he does also, for like, I was kind of tracking, like, what are the reveals that Luke gives, like, in the way that, like, all villains monologue and they tell you, like, what they're trying to do. So, like, we got the hinting towards, like, okay, he's trying to bring Talia back and
she'll be on his side.
Yes. And then he also says that Half-Blood Hill will be overrun by monsters within the month. So we have, like, that timeline there.
And that it's a hopeless quest to save the camp.
And then this is where Luke kind of stabs verbally at Annabeth with, like, talk about dishonoring, you're traveling with the Cyclops. And this is when Percy's kind of like, okay, we're starting to circle the drain of what happened that I don't know, but, like, clearly and so that's the first clue to the reader of, like, okay, what is really upsetting Annabeth dates back to her time with Luke, Talia, and the three of them traveling, which is, like, a very specific window in Annabeth's life.
Window, and it's a window we've heard some about, and what we know is that it was hard and scary, and they had to fight off a lot of monsters, and so we can interpret at this point that something really bad happened with the Cyclops at some point.
Yes. And then Percy kind of tries to jump in and be like, leave her alone, man. And that's when Luke goes, he goes from, like, attention on Annabeth to then, like, okay, and Percy,
like,
now
laser
have my
focus
attention
on Percy, because he says, leave her alone and leave Tyson out of this.
Yes.
And Luke does what we said Kronos should have done last chapter, and he says, I heard your father claimed him. And Percy looks surprised, and Luke reveals that he knows everything about what's been going on at camp.
Luke
Not just
spies.
that Tyson has been claimed. He's got, like,
He's got the
plan to get the
coordinates.
fleece. The coordinates, the literal numbers.
Yes.
And he's like,
yes.
yeah, I still got friends at camp. And then Percy's like, spies, you mean? And then Luke really goes into saying that Poseidon claiming Tyson is like an insult to Percy.
Yeah.
Like he is immediately latching onto that idea.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that Poseidon, like, do you think he cares for you any more than he cares for this monster? And he's like pointing to Tyson. Mm-hmm. Now Tyson clenches his fist and makes a rumbling sound in his throat. I love this moment for Tyson.
Oh yeah.
I feel like oftentimes we have seen Tyson get hurt by words, mm-hmm. which is totally valid response. But I love that he's like standing up for himself. Like he's like showing some aggression here. I think that's great.
Like, he's standing up for himself and he's standing up for Percy. Like he's like, we're not taking this. None of us.
Absolutely not. And so then Luke is saying that the gods are using Percy, which I just think is so ironic because Kronos is using Luke. And I
know.
It's just always interesting in these discussions between our characters when there is a lot of different manipulation happening, mm-hmm. right? And there's sort of like this false, like it's either this or that, like a false dichotomy being presented. And so,
it's very, it reminds me so much of Star Wars, which is like classic storytelling, but just like that narrative arc of like, you believe an institution is like rotten at its core and manipulative. You find mm-hmm. something else to believe in that is manipulating, but you're like, no, but I have the power here.
Right.
But I'm the one in control. And it's like, no, you're not. There's Palpatine. Yeah. There's Kronos. Yeah. You're not in the driver's seat of this, Luke or Anakin.
Exactly. Like... and we have, even in The Lightning Thief, it was mm-hmm. already very clear that Luke is Anakin. So I feel like that's just like a huge piece as we go through is the ways in which Kronos is manipulating him and he's not seeing it that way because he's been so focused on the gods. Mm-hmm. But here is where he drops really key information that is going to continue to be important throughout the rest of these books. Do you have any idea of what's in store if you reach your 16th birthday? Has Chiron even told you the prophecy? And this, I think, is also a very effective thing you can do where, like, the villain knows more about you than mm-hmm. you do. Mm-hmm. That's unsettling. That's alarming. Yeah. And between these two pieces, Percy is totally thrown off. It's very effective. It's way more effective than what Kronos tried in the last chapter. Like, this is actually working on Percy.
Chiron he was like for your protection. Like the vibe was very much like only Chiron knows this information. Like it's just the gods bound him. Just you can see like only the most important powerful people know this. And then it's like Luke knows this. Yeah. Like, huh? What?
Yeah. Like and he knows more demigod? About me than I do.
Yeah. And my future. Yeah. Like what now? What are you saying? What are you talking about? What's going on?
And Percy also very much picks up on the if I reach my 16th birthday.
Yes.
Which is not a great if. Yeah. And Percy just sort of like doubles down and tries to not take the bait. He's like, I know what I need to know. Like who my enemies are. Like you, like I'm not really falling for this. He's trying to hold his own here. And then this part is just really sweet because
I know
Luke calls Percy a fool, and Tyson smashes the nearest dining chairs to splinters and says, Percy's not a fool. Then he charges Luke, mm-hmm. and he's going to strike him in the head in a blow Percy describes could have knocked a hole in titanium. So Luke is done if this blow lands.
No more.
No mas. But the Bear Twins intercept, so at least at this point, Oreos is no longer hurting his head, which is good. They push him back, and Tyson stumbles and falls onto the carpet. And Luke specifically says that the twins together are a match for Tyson, which Percy will use later to their advantage.
Yep.
And then Percy decides to come in.
I can get one on you.
Yeah, he's like,
two can
well,
tango.
And it's kind of like, I can get one on you, but he also, like, I think it's it's almost a compassionate thing that he does here. Like,
yeah.
I think Luke is trying to be only manipulative. I think Percy is more genuine in when he's talking about Hermes.
No, I agree. Luke in this whole chapter, he is pure showmanship. He's pure, like, look at me, all these things. He's talking so much. He's revealing so much information. He's doing the villain thing of feeling too good about yourself, you know, like, and overly confident to the point where it's, like, detrimental to yourself to be so overly confident in a situation. Right. Whereas, I do agree that, like, I don't think that Percy is truly using it as, like, I can, like, get
like,
a
I don't think he's
you.
trying to hurt Luke here.
No.
I think he's trying to convey the message he was told to convey.
Yeah.
He's realizing why Hermes sent him here. And, you know, I think he's still really mad at Luke, obviously. But, but, you know, this is, I think, more in response to Luke being like, the gods are terrible and you should join us because we're going to make a better world.
It's like, it's more of kind of like, okay, Luke got to pitch his side and now Percy's like pitching his, his counter pitch. And specifically says to Luke that his father sent them, and Luke turns the color of pepperoni. Like, you can immediately tell. Like, that
just felt like such a Percyism. Oh, I just have to say, like, it made me laugh. Like, there are some moments when, like, only Percy could describe someone turning red as the color of pepperoni.
Oh, fully. Yes.
Okay, he's just hungry. He saw that food and he didn't get to eat the pizza on the table.
But we can really tell that this gets under Luke's skin and hits such a sensitive nerve in a way that nothing else has. Because Luke has been unfazed, not rattled, feeling in control of this whole situation.
And it's just the mention of Hermes. It's not even what he says. It's just saying that he sent them.
Yeah, and Percy explains that Hermes sent them to find him, and that Hermes wasn't going to give up on Luke no matter how angry he was. And, like, Luke is, like, not even saying full sentence. He's like, angry, give up. He's like, it's like the anger is, he's past boiling. Like, steam is coming out of his ears. He is now about to explode.
Yeah, it's
like
combust.
Yes. And this is when it's like Luke gets so angry that he reveals the biggest piece of Kronos's plan. And it almost feels like he reveals it because he gets so angry at the mention of his father. And this is where we get the reveal that Kronos is growing stronger, that this casket or this sarcophagus is where Kronos is reforming, that they're reforming, they're calling his life force out of the pit, and that with every recruit that pledges to their cause, another small piece appears. So he's like the world's most horrifying puzzle. And there, Luke also says that they will piece together a new body for him, a work worthy of the forges of Hephaestus, which I think it's funny to, like, he's just gone on all these tirades about how much he, like, hates the emblems of the rod, but then he's like, worthy of Hephaestus himself.
Right.
Like, and I'm like, what?
Was there not a Titan that was, like, good with metal? That
also,
you could
like,
reference?
Don't you hate Hephaestus?
Right.
Why are
don't
you
hate all gods?
Yeah.
More worthy than Hephaestus.
Right. Yeah. But I also noted that because, like, they don't piece together a new body for him.
I know. I noted that too.
And so it made me wonder if, like, that was ever actually a sincere plan, or if that was part of Kronos's being like, I'm going to pitch this knowing full well that actually I'm just going to take over Luke. But because he's not on board enough for that, he isn't drinking the Kool-Aid.
You have to, like,
so much.
You have to more gradually ease him in, like, get him down and down the rabbit hole until he has no other choice at that point. Yeah. It did make me want to track how Luke's talking about Kronos. I know we will anyway, but just, like, see how Luke is talking about the plan over time.
Yes.
Like his understanding.
I agree.
Because clearly
I felt
this
the
is
same
his
way.
understanding of it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think the piece of them learning that like every kid, every half-blood who's turned, every demigod who's turned adds another piece. I think that's such a good way to put the stakes of loyalty on the table, and really up the ante on that, where like when the demigods are of Camp Half-Blood are trying to like stay together, that is not just so they can like win a battle or something.
Yeah.
It's literally like everyone they lose to the other side brings Kronos a piece closer to being back on Earth. Like I think that is scary. Really good
It's
stakes.
like a true physical manifestation of what is happening emotionally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then this is where Luke kind of gives his last pitch, and he goes the like wealth route. This is get the reference to the sponsors. He's trying to pitch Percy on like, your mom can have a mansion, you can have power, Annabeth, you can be an architect, you can build a monument to last 1,000 years, like, and after Annabeth tells him to go to Tartarus, he's like, okay, well, didn't work. And he calls in uniformed crew members who are glassy-eyed, but Percy's kind of like, they're still going to be dangerous in a fight. Like, just because they're in a trance doesn't mean they're not threats. And Luke tells security to escort the three of them away. And this is where I think Luke's overconfidence makes him make the incorrect call here. Because he tells Oreos to go, and Agrius wants to go too, and is mean about his brother, and Agrius is saying, hey, the Cyclops, and Luke is like, not a threat, Agrius, we've got important business to discuss. I need you to stay here. And so Aureus, the two human security guards, Annabeth, Percy, and Tyson, exit, are walking down the corridor, and Percy, very importantly...
So we have to talk about something before we get there.
Okay.
We have to. Okay. Luke is planning to murder the three of them.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. I completely skipped over that. Yes.
We have to talk about that. Yes. Because...
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Like, he basically gives them one pitch.
Yeah.
They don't even all he doesn't even say, like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah.
Annabeth says, go to Tartarus. He's like, okay, you're dead. He is sending Oreos to feed them to the Ethiopian Draken.
Yeah.
And he even reinforces that by saying, make sure the Draken is properly fed. Like,
yeah.
Luke immediately is just planning to take them out of the picture. And I do feel maybe ever so slightly confused by this. Is that what he actually intended? Does Kronos just think that Clarice can get the Golden Fleece and Talia can come back, and so Percy's not needed to do this quest? Did Kronos give Luke the go-ahead to not have Percy around, so then Percy, like, he doesn't want him in play as a prophecy, because I think he does? Or does Luke only send one of the twins because he knows that they can escape, and just like every other thing that he's done in this book, he's making Percy think that Percy is taking all the actions here, but he's actually subtly allowing him to do exactly what Kronos wants?
Okay, I think that is correct, because I was just thinking about the third one.
Like, yes. I think it's wild that I think Annabeth should take seriously, for example, that Luke just says, like, go kill them, right? Like, go feed them to a Draken.
But the reason why I think the third piece that you said is correct is because I was thinking about, like, I've read these books so many times. These stressful, life-endangering parts still stress me out every time I read them.
Yeah.
This has never been one of those parts. And it just hit me that I have never been stressed reading this part. I have never believed Luke's threat. It has always felt like an empty threat. And so I think that you are correct in your analysis that, like, it is one. It is meant to look like I'm doing this and I'm making the wrong play here. and you are so good and you got out, when in reality it's great, you're doing what I want you to do. Yeah. But this is the only way for him to allow them to leave without them being like, hold on a second, Luke just let us leave. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
And even the fact that, like, Agrius is arguing with him. You know, like, I think if Luke really did want them to die in that moment, then, I don't know. I think he lets Agrius go. It's just taking them down. Like, there can't be something so urgent that he couldn't do that.
And that Luke not only doesn't want them to die, but wants them to escape. It is necessary that they escape and continue on this quest. And so the only way for that to happen without it looking like he let them happen is this. So
like, they still have all their bags with them.
Yeah.
Like, he could have confiscated their stuff.
Yes.
And been like, I'm taking your stuff and sending you down to get eaten. But, like, they get to this lifeboat and they've got all their bags because Percy takes the canister out.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, like, Annabeth, if she's not interpreting it that way, definitely should have in mind that Luke was basically just like giving the order for them to be killed, because I think that's serious.
No, I agree. But in this corridor, Percy remembers that the Bear Twins together are a match for Tyson, and he's like, but maybe separately, ...
Which is what Luke also said. Like, if we're thinking he's really manipulative, Luke is the one who says that.
I know. That's why I really think that you are correct. That this is the play all along. This is everything is going according to plan.
Yeah.
And he fully intended for them to escape with all their items. Like, because also, why else would he? There are so many monsters aboard the trip or the cruise, and he's going with two humans in a trance who still feel threatening to Percy, but are still functionally like humans in a trance who are no way a match for any of the monsters on
like, they're
ship.
not holding even tasers or guns or, you know, something more lethal. They're holding batons.
And any of the monsters would be on the ship are far more lethal.
Yes.
Than these two humans could be.
Or the demigods who, like, are hacking up, you know, straw figures with swords.
Yeah. But then Annabeth, Percy, Tyson, and Annabeth all kind of have this, like, group mind moment.
Yes,
where, like,
do.
They're back in Mission Impossible. They, like, know what needs to happen. And, you know, Tyson takes out Oreos and, like... Annabeth gets one of the security guards. Percy gets the other, but not before the guard is able to sound the alarm. And so red lights are flashing and sirens are wailing. And Percy catches that there's a lifeboat. And so they're running. It's Mission Impossible. They're trying, James Bond, you know, trying to get off
to the lifeboat.
The evil villain's yacht cruise ship. And they're being like monster security, they're all converging on Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson trying to escape.
Slipping on pina coladas.
Yeah. Yes. A guy in Greek armor.
Yelling. Yeah.
Lystragonian archers are assembling. Like, there's a whole hullabaloo happening. And a hellbound leaping. And Percy tells all of them to get in to the lifeboat, and because time is of the essence, he just cuts the ropes to get the lifeboat from up on cruise ship level to down in the ocean as a shower of arrows. Oh, a lovely drawing. If you're listening, not if you're just doing audio,
just
right
a
now,
lifeboat falling into the water, and
it's a beautiful drawing. And yes, so they are free falling toward the ocean as a shower of arrows whistle over their heads, and they have made their escape. And that is where the chapter ends.
Which, my final thought on Luke letting Percy go here, the team go, is also we're on the water. Like, we're literally on Percy's domain. Yeah. If he can escape from anywhere, he should be able to escape from a boat.
Absolutely.
Even a really, really big boat.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Any final thoughts from you?
I think just that, I feel like we're really continuing to discover how much more tonally dark this book is. And And even in terms of, like, I think your analysis of Luke's manipulation, this chapter is really on point, and it feels like it's another step. Like, there's a darker tone to it, because Luke is now really, like, he's, like, making them do things thinking that it's, like, their own choice, and they got away, and it's like, actually, he wanted you to do all that.
Totally.
And you kind of are doing everything according to a plan that you're not fully aware of, though they now have the pieces to get the corkboards out, start putting those red strings, connecting those dots.
The corkboards are a mess right now after this chapter. Like, there is so much to add to them, and then we're escaping. Ooh, there is a lot of new information in this chapter that we're going to need to contend with.
Yeah. Any final thoughts from you?
I want a bear friend.
That's your final thought?
That's my final thought.
Lovely. Yeah. Well, before we do our little goodbye, I do just want to say, if you're enjoying the podcast, please rate us 5 stars on the app, like and subscribe on YouTube. It really helps us out.
Come chat with us in the comment section.
Yes. If you're not, well, sorry.
There's a lot of podcasts.
There's so many podcasts.
There's plenty.
There are a lot of podcasts.
There's one for you.
Yeah,
I
but
promise.
if you are enjoying, please express in some form or fashion that you are enjoying it.
Yeah, it helps us, get discovered and build our community together of people who love these books and want to talk about them and want to
overanalyze them and get real deep into.
Maybe appreciate our social worky mental health brains and
discuss sneaks
or
versus
love
snuck
bears.
And the
if you also love bears, just let me know in the comment section down below. Use the honey or bee emoji or the bear emoji.
If you also love Wikipedia in this current day and age, let me know.
Let Alisa know. Last book we did have a Team Anna, Team Alisa moment. So from now on, if you're Team Anna, we're gonna do a bear or a honey related emoji. What's your Wikipedia emoji?
Isn't there a book?
There's a book.
A book with a pencil.
Yeah,
or
there's
a
a writing one.
Yeah,
a computer one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to think about that.
Yeah.
All right, I love it. Well, our heroes are having a bumpy start to their unofficial quest, and we're going to continue some of those bumps next chapter when we read Sea of Monsters, Chapter 10, We Hitch a Ride with Dead Confederates. Bye.
Bye.